Okay, so the basic method of anapanasati is to, according to the instruction of the Buddha, is to make effort to be completely mindful of each in and out breath as they occur at the tip of the nostril or at the upper lip. Okay, so then you make effort to be never without mindfulness, okay, when experiencing each breath, okay, to ensure that not a single in-breath or out-breath occur without being mindful of it. So without the attention being firmly established on the breath. Okay. So that's why it's called anapanasati. Okay, so it's breath, mindfulness of the in and out breath. And so mindfulness must accompany each in breath, each out breath as it occurs. Okay? So anapanasati. Okay? So this is the basic method. Very simple, right? Just to be mindful of each in breath and each out breath as they occur. Yeah. But in detail, the Buddha also gave the more detailed instruction. So there are 4 steps altogether. Okay? The first, the third. Okay? So the first one is, first 2 steps is as you are being mindful of each in-breath and each out-breath. So you make effort to be clearly and distinctly aware whether they are long breath or short breath. Okay? So it's a long breath, you know it's a long breath. It's a short breath, you know it's a short breath. Okay? So long and short, as we mentioned, means in terms of time duration. Okay? If it takes a longer time, then it's a long breath. Okay? If it takes a shorter time, then it's a short breath. Okay? So this is how you begin the exercise of anapanasati. Simply to follow each breath as it passes in and out at the tip of the nostril or at the upper lip. And to notice clearly whether it's a long breath or a short breath. Okay? So once a yogi can be continuously mindful of the long and short breath, then the next step is to step up effort, to pay more careful attention, to discern clearly the beginning, middle, and end of each in-breath and each out-breath. Okay? To make known, to make clear the beginning, middle, and end of each breath. So you have to make effort every time you note the breath, to make sure that the beginning is clear, the middle is clear, the end also is clear. Okay? So that means now your attention is not just generally on the in breath, out breath. You pay attention to the entire breath from beginning to the end. Okay? The first 2 steps is almost like paying attention rather generally, just knowing whether it's long or it's short. But now you're paying more careful attention to be clearly aware of the beginning, middle, and end of each breath. And then finally, the 4th step. So as a yogi makes effort to continuously be aware of beginning, middle, and end of each breath. Gradually the samadhi develops, jnana develops, so concentration and clear knowledge develops. Okay? So as samadhi develops, the mind becomes more and more settled, more and more calm, more and more peaceful. The breath also becomes correspondingly also more and more subtle, more and more peaceful, more and more calm. As the jnana, clear knowledge develops also, the breath also becomes more and more subtle, peaceful and calm. Okay? This happens quite naturally, so you don't have to deliberately try to make the breath more calm, more smooth, more peaceful. So in fact, if you try to do it, you only make it worse because of the extra effort. Okay. Yeah, so the way to make the breath body more calm, more peaceful is to make effort to develop samadhi and jnana. So due to the development of samadhi and jnana, the breath by itself becomes naturally, it becomes more and more subtle, more and more peaceful, more and more calm. Okay? So when this happens, then the yogi need to exert more effort in order to note this more subtle, more peaceful, more calm breath. Okay? So as a yogi makes more effort, this leads to deeper samadhi, more profound jnana. And as a result of this, the breath becomes even more subtle, even more peaceful, more calm. Okay? So, and when this happens, the yogi needs to put in even more effort to note. And so it goes on and on and on. So in this way, the breath becomes more and more calm, more subtle. So this is the fourth step, calming the bodily formation. Pasambayam kaya sankaram, asasisami, pasasisami, sikati. Okay, so calming the bodily formation. He breathes in, he breathes out. So the bodily formation, as we explained the other day, means the breath body, not the entire body. Although actually, as you meditate, the entire body also becomes more and more calm and peaceful also. But here, what is specifically meant is the breath body, the in and out breath, not the entire body. So after this, the Buddha gave a simile. So it says, Seyatapi bhikkhave dako bhamakaro va bhamakarante va siva dikam va enchanto dikam enchamiti pajanati rasam va enchanto rasa enchamiti pajanati evameva ko bhikkhave bhikkhu dikam va asasanto dikam asasamiti pajanati, and so on. Okay. So Buddha gave the simile, so which is actually a very straightforward simile. So Seyatapi, just as Dako Bhamakaro Bhamakarante Vasiva, just as a skillful lay operator. You all know as a lay, L-A-T-H-E. It is You know? Yeah, you know. It's a kind of a machine that the carpenter use in order to shape wood. Okay, so yeah, so those who work with metal also use it. So it consists of something like something to hold a piece of wood. So you have a piece of wood, and then something to hold it on each end. So something to hold it here, something to hold it there, and then after that, there's a mechanism to spin that piece of wood. Okay, so as it spins very fast. So you take a piece of knife or something, and then you start to cut into the wood, start to shape it into the form that you want it to be in. So that is called a lathe. So nowadays we use electric motor to spin the lathe. So, but in the Buddha's time, they don't have electric motor, but they have some kind of mechanism where the lathe operator or the carpenter he needs to pull. I think maybe pull some rope or something. I'm not very sure exactly how it is. Okay, so but if you the more you pull it, the more it rotates. So, yeah. so if let's say the piece of wood is very huge, so you have to pull more to make a bigger rotation, right? But if it is a smaller piece of wood, let's say you want to make a needle, so it's a smaller piece, so then you don't have to pull it so much. You pull it a little. See? So it's called a long pull and a short pull. Okay, something like that. So Buddha says just as a skillful lay work operator or his apprentice. So when making a long pull, Dikamba Enchanto, when making a long pull, he knows clearly, I am making a long pull. And when he make a short pull, then he knows clearly, I'm making a short pull. Yeah. Yeah, right? When you're operating a machine like this, you know when you're making a long pull, you know when you're making a short pull, right? Just as when you're driving a car, you know when you're pressing very hard on the accelerator, you know when you are pressing just very lightly on the accelerator, right? So in the same way, the Buddha says the bhikkhu, the yogi, when breathing in long, he knows I'm breathing in long. He knows clearly, distinctly. Okay, so and when he breathes out long, he knows he's breathing out long. And when he breathes in a short breath, he knows I'm breathing in a short breath. And when he breathes out a short breath, he knows I'm breathing out a short breath. Okay? And naturally you know, right? So yeah, so this simile is quite straightforward and don't need to explain very much. Not really that interesting also. Okay. Yeah. So this basically is the instruction for Anapana. Okay. So first is to know, to keep your mindfulness on the breath with each in breath and out breath. Okay. And then to know whether it's a long breath or a short breath. Okay. So once you can follow it continuously, long breath, short breath, long breath, short breath, and so on. And then you step up the effort to know clearly beginning, middle, and end of each breath. Okay. Then once you can continuously know beginning, middle, and end of each breath, then you continuously make effort to sustain that attention so that the samadhi and the jnana develops deeper and deeper, further and further. And as this happens, the breath body becomes more and more peaceful, calm, settled. Okay? Yeah. So this is basically anapanasati. Okay. Only the first 4 steps. So it means there's another 12 steps. That one you can find in the Anapanasati Sutta. Okay. Here in the Satipatthana Sutta, only the first 4 steps are mentioned because they fall under Kayanupasana. Okay. Okay. So this instruction, Anapanasati, it can be practiced both as a samatha object or vipassana object. Okay, so you can approach it as samatha or as vipassana. Okay, so yeah. So if you follow the samatha jnana, the samatha approach, which begins with the development of deep concentration, the samatha jhanas. Then after that you switch over to vipassana. So if you follow this approach and you take anapana as your subject of meditation, so then you begin by counting the breath. Okay? So you count the breath. In 1, out 1, in 2, out 2, in 3, out 3, you count. So now, according to the Visuddhimagga, they give the advice. It's advised that if you count, you count from 1 to more than 5. Okay, but less, not more than 5. 5 or more. Okay, but not more than 10. Okay, so don't count from 1 to less than 5. Okay, so like 1 and 2, 3. 1, 2, or 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so at least count up to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it is said that if you count less than 5, you count up to less than 5, the mind will feel uncomfortable, like it is in a confined space. So, because you're counting 1, 2, 3, and then finish already. You haven't got enough of it yet. And finish already. Is that all? So the mind feels it's not satisfied. It's very confined, very restricted. Okay. So you should count 5 or more. So, but you should not count more than 10, because it is said that if you start to count more and more, so then you begin to pay attention to the counting instead of the breath. Your attention starts to go towards the numbers rather than the breath. When you practice anapanasati, your attention should be on the breath. So the counting is just to help you to hold your attention on the breath. But if you count bigger and bigger number, so then your attention starts to go towards the number rather than the breath. And so you count somewhere between 5 to 10. Okay, so So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Okay, so in, but you count each one, in 1, out 1, in 2, out 2, and so on. Okay, so yeah, so the purpose of counting is to help anchor attention on the breath, okay, so that the mind does not run here and there, distracted. Okay, it's something like a reminder. They tell the mind, you should be noticing the breath. Okay, so remember, the purpose is to bring the attention to the breath. So therefore, the attention must be on the breath and not on the counting. Okay, so don't be distracted towards the counting, towards the number. So this counting is something like labeling, right? When you practice vipassana meditation. But in vipassana meditation, you see, the label correspond with the object. Okay, so you're not rising, you label rising. You're not falling, you label as falling. Yeah, you're not sitting, you label as sitting, and so on. Right? So in vipassana, it's important that the label correspond with the object, because you're trying to train the mind to be clear about the object that you are noting. And so therefore the label needs to correspond. So to help the mind be more clear about what you are noting. But when you practice as a samatha object, it need not be so. So that's why as a samatha object you can count. So otherwise you have to label as in and out. So instead you can label as 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Okay. Yeah. So as the commentary, Visuddhimagga caution, so the attention must be on the breath, not be distracted towards the counting. So similarly, in vipassana meditation, when you label, you must make sure that your attention is on the object that you are labeling. So don't be distracted towards the label itself, which is what happened to many yogis, especially when they cannot figure out what to label, and then they start thinking, and then you become distracted. Your attention is not on the object that you are supposed to be noting. Okay. So that's why when yogis say they cannot figure out what to note, what to label as. So simply let's say something, knowing, feeling. Yeah. Because you are actually knowing, you are actually, or you can say noting also can, because you are noting. So you begin by counting. So, and once the concentration develops through counting, and you find the mind can follow continuously, in, out, without distraction. You can follow continuously. Then you can give up the counting. And simply follow the breath by continuously connecting the mind to the breath, touching the breath with the mind, fixing the mind on the breath. Okay, so actually the counting is to help the mind connect with the breath, touch it, to fix the mind on the breath. Okay, so but once you through the exercise of counting, once you are able to follow it continuously without being distracted, then you can give up the tool of counting and then proceed straight to simply connect directly with the breath. Okay? Fix the mind directly onto the breath each time you note it. Okay? So it's the same with vipassana also. Once the label has served its purpose. Your mindfulness is flowing continuously without distraction. Your mindfulness is flowing moment after moment after moment. And then you can drop the labeling and simply experience each object that is noted continuously. Okay? Yeah, so you give up the counting and simply follow the breath continuously, connecting with it, touching it, fixing it on the breath. So as you do this continuously, the samadhi will develop. So eventually, as the samadhi develops, the what we call the nimitta will arise. Nimitta is like a mental image of the breath will arise. Okay, this is an image that is created by the mind. Okay, so it's not something that magically appear. Okay? So this image appear because you have been focusing on the breath continuously with focused attention. Okay, so the mind has this tendency to create image of what you experience, right? So if now you think of something, let's say you think of, let's say, Nangka. So when you think of Nangka, what do you see in your mind? You see an image of the Nangka. So that is mind created, right? So even when you're not meditating, the mind is creating this image. What more when you're meditating with this samadhi, this focus, attention, and the image will become even more clear. Okay, so as you keep paying attention on the breath again and again, eventually this image of the breath will appear in the mind. Okay? How is the image like? It's different for different people. So it depends on many things. Depends on things like how you pay attention to the breath, your natural tendency, and so on. Okay, so for example, some people, they may pay attention to the breath at the tip of the nostril. So they feel it like there's a dot there. So when the image appear, it may appear like a dot. Right? So because this is what the mind perceives. Okay, so some people pay attention to it like in, out, going in, going out. So it's like a line. So when the image appear, it may appear like a line or like a string. Some other yogis, they may feel the breath soft like a cotton wool. So when the image appear, it may appear like a cotton, a ball of cotton. So to different people, different nimitta arises. Okay? Now, when the nimitta, this mental image first appear, excuse me, when it first appear, it is not stable. It's there, it's not there, it's there, it's not there. So therefore, the yogi should not immediately turn the attention to the nimitta. Should continue to stay with the actual breath. Okay, but eventually, the nimitta will stabilize. So once it's stabilized, then you can direct your attention to the nimitta. Okay, continue to focus on the nimitta, to meditate on it, bring the attention again and again to the mental image, until eventually, when the jhana factors is strong enough, the whole mind become unified with the nimitta, come absorbed into it. This is when the jhana arise. Okay? So absorption, concentration, appana samadhi arise. Okay? So once the yogi has attained the first jhana, then he has to spend some time to master the first jhana. So after that, if he wishes, he can develop the higher jhana, second jhana, third jhana, fourth jhana, then master each of the jhana. So once the yogi is satisfied, have enough of samatha already, so he is satisfied that he has developed enough concentration, then he can shift to the development of vipassana, development of insight. So to do so, yogi needs to withdraw from the jhana, come out from the jhana, and start contemplating the nature of nama rupa. Okay? Yeah. So this is the approach, and this is how you practice anapanasati if you follow the samatayana way. Okay? But if you follow the vipassana yana, the vipassana approach, okay, so you still contemplate the breath, okay, but you don't count it. So instead, you just follow the 4 steps very simply, knowing the long breath, short breath, knowing the beginning, middle, and end of the breath, okay, and then not continuously, so that you gradually develop samadhi and jnana. Okay, so as the samadhi develops, so mind becomes clearer and clearer. Then yogi will begin to realize the presence of the elements, the nature of the physical elements, with each in-breath and each out-breath. Okay? So we breathe in, breathe out, you may feel some slight pressure at the tip of the nostril or the upper lip. So you realize the nature of the wind element. Or you notice that the breath is very smooth or rough, or sometimes it's soft. So this is the nature of the earth element. Okay? Or when you breathe in, you feel the air is cool, you feel the coolness. When you breathe out, you feel the warm nature. So this is the nature of the fire element. Okay. So you continue. You note in, out, in, out. So as you do so, you realize nature rupa sabhava, the unique characteristic of the physical element. And then gradually you also come to realize the nama sabhava, unique nature of the mental states, okay, mental phenomena, nature of knowing, nature of noting, that arise with each in and out breath. Okay? So from sabhava lakkhana, then you meditate continuously, and then eventually you also come to realize the nature of sankhata lakkhana. So how each and every one of this mental or physical nature that is noted is conditioned. It arises, it disappears, moment after moment. Okay? This is sankhata lakkhana, conditioned nature. Right? Then from noting the continuous arising and disappearance, gradually also come to realize the nature of samanya lakkhana, the universal or common characteristic of impermanent, suffering, non-self of the breath. So you notice that whether you follow samatha yana or vipassana yana, whether you follow samatha approach or vipassana approach, finally you end up doing vipassana meditation, right? It's whether you take the long road or the short road. So finally, yogis must end up doing vipassana meditation, developing insight. Okay? Which is why after giving the instruction for anapanasati, the Buddha proceed to talk about the development of insight. Okay. So actually in the Satipatthana Sutta, so the Buddha gave various subjects of meditation to contemplate as part of the practice of Satipatthana. Okay? So in each section, in each section of the sutta, the Buddha introduced one subject of meditation. And at the end of each section, the Buddha talked about development of vipassana. Okay? Development of insight. Insight into nature of nama rupa, nature of anicca, dukkha, anatta. Okay? So, yeah. So this occurs with every subject of meditation that the Buddha spoke about in the Satipatthana Sutta. So this means that the development of insight is part of Satipatthana practice. So when you practice Satipatthana, it must involve the development of insight. Okay? And because it involves development of insight, vipassana, jnana, that's why the Buddha can say that this is the only way, Satipatthana is the only way for the realization of Nibbana. Right? Because how else are you to realize Nibbana, which is the cessation of dukkha, if not by developing insight that leads to the letting go of the cause of suffering. Right? It is by contemplating again and again the nature of impermanent suffering and non-self that the mind is able to finally let go of the cause of suffering, let go of attachment to the process of nama rupa, which is essentially the truth of suffering. Right? So only by letting go of the cause of suffering can you experience the cessation of suffering. Okay? So to experience the cessation of suffering, you need to develop insight. Okay? So since Satipatthana is the only way for the realization of Nibbana, it must involve development of insight. Because without developing insight, there's no realization of Nibbana. We cannot experience the cessation of dukkha. Okay? So development of insight is a necessary part of Satipatthana practice. Otherwise, the Buddha cannot claim that it is the only way for the realization of Nibbana. Okay, so let's look at this section, this part where the Buddha talk about development of insight. So after having given the instruction for anapanasati, so the Buddha talk about development of insight. So he began by saying, so iti ajatam wa kaya kaya nupasi viharati, bahida wa kaya kaya nupasi viharati, ajata bahida wa kaya kaya nupasi viharati. So, okay. So this passage and the subsequent one, which we will be quoting later, so this repeats at the end of every meditation subject that the Buddha pointed out in the Satipatthana Sutta. So you find this section repeated throughout the Satipatthana Sutta. Okay? So iti ajatama kaya kaya nupasi viharati and so on. So he dwells. He means the yogi. The yogi dwells, passes his or her time contemplating the body in the body internally. Okay? Or he passes his time contemplating the body in the body externally. Okay? So Bahidawa, then Ajata Bahida. He dwells contemplating body in the body, both internally and externally. Okay? Now, what does this mean? What does internal contemplation, external contemplation, what does it mean? Okay? So to contemplate internally, body in the body internally. So here body would refer to the breath body, the in-out breath. Okay? So to contemplate internally means to contemplate your own breath. Your own breath. Okay? It's straightforward. In, out, you know. I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. So, what about externally? To contemplate externally means the opposite. It means to contemplate others' breath. So I contemplate your in-out breath. So that's called contemplating externally. So sounds very strange, right? Okay. So in the beginning, you have to begin by contemplating internally. You contemplate your own breath. Okay. So you contemplate in, out, in, out, in, out. Your own breath. Okay. So as you practice continuously in this way, gradually the samadhi develops, jnana develops. Okay, so you practice continuously until you are able to follow the breath continuously. Okay, so when you practice sufficiently, and your practice is sufficient enough, samadhi develops sufficiently, jnana develops sufficiently, you begin to realize the nature of your own in-breath and out-breath, right? So you realize the nature of the internal breath body. And so once you realize the nature of your own in and out breath, then as you meditate, occasionally, thoughts may arise spontaneously about other people's breath. Based on what you have realized about the nature of your own breath. So, for example, you may realize, just as internally, the experience of in and out breath consists of only physical and mental nature. So, in the same way, I'm very sure they all also, when they experience in and out breath, the experience also consists of just physical and mental nature. So spontaneously, this thought arises. It's like you're applying the knowledge that you have realized internally, applying it externally to other people. So that's called contemplating externally. So you realize, just as my breath consists of beginning, middle, and end, I'm sure they also, their breath also has a beginning, middle, and end. Just as my breath arises and disappears, I'm sure their breath also arises and disappears. Just as my breath is impermanent, suffering, and non-self, so their breath also impermanent, suffering, and non-self. Okay, so it's like you're applying the insight externally. Okay, yeah. So this insight that you develop based on internal objects, your internal in and out breath, this is called Pachaka Jnana. So there are two kinds of jnana, two kinds of clear knowledge. Okay? First one is Pachaka Jnana. Pachaka means direct experiential. So direct experiential knowledge. Okay? So this arises by contemplating directly the object, the internal object. So you contemplate directly, experience directly your own in and out breath. Okay? As you contemplate continuously, the knowledge arises with regards to the nature of your in and out breath. Okay? So once you have this Pachaka Jnana, then you apply this jnana externally. Okay? Just as it is of this nature internally, it must also be of this nature externally. Okay? So this kind of knowledge is called Anumana Jnana, inferential knowledge. Okay? You infer from what you have experienced directly, Pachaka Jnana. You infer from Pachaka Jnana and then apply it externally. This is called Anumana Jnana, inferential knowledge. Okay? Actually, in the same way also, you infer from the present, you experience the object in the present, which is direct experience. Okay? And then you can infer the past is also the same. The future will also be the same. So past, present, future. In some suttas, the Buddha mentioned, right? Contemplating on the past, contemplating in the future. So this is true. Anumana Jnana, inferential knowledge. First, you must infer. You must have direct experience of the present. So there's Pachaka Jnana. From there you infer into the past, into the future. Okay? Yeah. So the basis for Anumana Jnana, inferential knowledge, is Pachaka Jnana, direct experiential knowledge. Okay? So that's why you must begin by contemplating internally to develop Pachaka Jnana, direct experiential knowledge. Okay? Then only you can infer. Then only Anumana Jnana can arise. Otherwise, there's no basis for no basis for inference, right? So this is what it means: contemplating internally, contemplating externally. So the Buddha says he dwells contemplating body in the body internally. So you start off by contemplating internally. So once through internal contemplation, he has developed Pachaka Jnana, direct experiential knowledge. Then he dwells contemplating the body in the body externally. That's Anumana Jnana, inferential knowledge. Then Ajata Bahidawa Kaya Kaya Nupasi Viharati. He dwells contemplating body in the body internally and externally. Okay? So sometimes yogi may go back and forth. Now contemplating internally, now contemplating externally, go back and forth. So that is called contemplating body in the body, internally and externally. Okay. Now remember, not at the same time. Okay. At one time he contemplate internally, at another time he contemplate externally. then back to internal, then go external again. Okay, so not at the same time. Okay, so that's called contemplating internally and externally. Yeah. So you can see actually Anumana Jnana actually is actually some kind of thinking. It's not really a direct contemplation, but it is based on knowledge that arises from direct contemplation. From there you infer. So it is based on direct experiential knowledge. Okay? So, and this occur a lot in the early stages of insight, especially the first three insights. Nama Rupa Paricheda Jnana, Pachaya Parigaha Jnana, and Samasana Jnana also. A lot of thinking going on during that time. Okay, so once the moment you experience something clearly, you start to think about it, you start to apply. So a lot of thinking goes on during these early stages of insight. So to progress beyond it, you need to give up the tendency to think, to infer, simply to note continuously. So don't care what it is, just keep noting. You start to think, not thinking, and then continue noting. Okay, because as long as you are still trying to think about what you're experiencing, you're blocking your progress. Okay? The way to progress past those early stages of insight is to surrender the mind completely into the work of noting, to note continuously. Okay? So that the insight can deepen, it goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Okay? So as the insight deepen, then you find there'll be less and less thinking. Okay? Okay, so next, the Buddha says, Samudaya Dhamma Nupasiva Kayasme Viharati. Vaya Dhamma Nupasiva Kayasme Viharati. Samudaya Vaya Dhamma Nupasiva Kayasme Viharati. Okay, so, now, so there's this word, Samudaya Dhamma and Vaya Dhamma. Okay, so it dwells contemplating. He dwells contemplating the Samudaya Dhamma in the body, or he dwells contemplating the Vaya Dhamma in the body, or he dwells contemplating both, the Samudaya Dhamma and Vaya Dhamma. Okay, so the reason why I didn't translate these two words, because there's two explanations for the meaning of these two words. Okay, and both the explanation is valid. Okay, that's the nature of Pali words. One word can have so many meaning. Okay, so here, Samudaya Dhamma and Vaya Dhamma, both these words have two different valid explanations. And both of them, they're also the yogi experience during the work of contemplation. Okay. So, the first explanation is according to the commentary. Okay. So according to this explanation, Samudaya Dhamma means the origination factor. Okay. And Vaya Dhamma means dissolution factor, factor of origination, factor of dissolution. What it means is the causes for the arising of the breath and the causes for the dissolution of the breath. Okay, so in order for the breath to occur, So there must be certain causes present, right? So, so in the commentary, they mention, first of all, the gross body, right? You must have a gross body. Without body, yeah, no breath will occur. Like in the immaterial world. So the immaterial Brahma world, they don't have a body, just the mind. There's no breathing there, right? So not just the gross body, specifically you must have a nasal aperture. If there's no hole here, how to breathe, right? So the nasal aperture also is a cause. And then there must also be the mind. So there's no mind, breathing will not occur. Without the mind giving the impulse to breathe, the breathing will not occur. Right? So, so for example, a dead body, no mind. You can feel whether it breathes or not. It doesn't breathe. Some yogis who enter into this Nirodha Samapatti, attainment of cessation, where the mental process is temporarily suspended. At that time also, there's no breathing. So, breathing does not occur without the mind. So therefore, actually, breath, anapana, the in-out breath, is actually citta rupa, mind-produced materiality. It's produced by the mind. Okay? So without the mind, it doesn't arise. So therefore, these three, the gross body, the nasal aperture, the mind, these are called samudaya dhamma, origination factors. The factors or the causes that originate the breath, that give rise to the breath. Okay? So as a yogi meditates and as the mind becomes clear, so you keep focusing on the in breath, out breath, in breath, out breath. As the mind becomes clearer and clearer, sometimes the yogi may realize this. Without the body, there will be no breath. If the body disappears, the breath will not arise. Because there is a body, there is the breath. Because there is the nose here, the holes here, the nasal aperture, then the breath occur. Without it, it doesn't occur. And if your mind is very clear, your noting mind is very clear, you may even realize or the impulse behind the breath. So without that, the breath also will not occur. Okay, so it comes as an experience. The yogi realizes it for himself. Because of these causes, the breath occur. Okay. So when these three factors disappear, the breath will also dissolve. So the gross body disappear, the breath will also disappear. If the two holes here disappear, the breath will also disappear. Like you have a congested nose, the breath will disappear. Right? So if the mind does not have an impulsion, the breath also will not occur. Right? So so it will dissolve. That is also called the Vaya Dhamma, the dissolution factors. Okay, the cause why they do not arise. That means the absence of the gross body, the nasal aperture, and the mind. Okay. So during the practice, the yogi may realize the causes why the breath arises, why the breath disappears. Okay, so this is called, this is one way of understanding. So in this case, you translate it as he dwells contemplating the origination factors in the body, or he dwells contemplating the dissolution factors in the body. Okay? Or he dwells contemplating both the origination and dissolution factor in the body. So sometimes the yogi goes back and forth, contemplating these two. Okay? Yeah. So this one actually, you experience it more during the Paccaya Parigahanyana, the second insight. Discerning the cause effect between the Nama Rupa. Okay? It's at that point that the yogi experience a lot of this. Okay? Now, so this is the first explanation of the meaning of Samudaya Dhamma, Vaya Dhamma. Now, another explanation is added by Mahasi Sayadaw. Okay, so Mahasi Sayadaw explained that in addition to taking it as the origination factor, dissolution factor, so Samudaya Dhamma and Vaya Dhamma. So Samudaya Dhamma, you can also explain it as nature of arising. Okay? And Vaya Dhamma means nature of disappearance. Okay? So this Pali word, Samudaya Dhamma, Vaya Dhamma, it also have this meaning. It can also be translated in this way. Okay? So, so it doesn't contradict what the Buddha says, because it does have this meaning. You see? So therefore, if you observe the arising of the breath, the yogi make effort to observe the arising of the breath bit by bit, moment by moment. So he's contemplating the Samudaya Dhamma, the nature of arising of the breath. Okay? Similarly, if the yogi makes effort to observe the disappearance of the breath, bit by bit, moment by moment, then the yogi is said to be contemplating Vaya Dhamma, nature of disappearance. Okay? But in practice, most of the time the yogi will be contemplating both arising and disappearing. Okay? So in the beginning, it's more of arising. So especially at Paccaya Parigahanyana, it's more of arising. Okay? So but beginning from Samasana Jnana is more arising and disappearing. Udayabhaya Jnana also arising, disappearing. Okay? But then, so in this two phases, the yogi notes both the arising and disappearing. So Samudaya, Vaya, Dhamma, Anupasiva, Kayasmi Viharati. He contemplates both the nature of arising and disappearance in the body. Okay? Beginning from Bhanganyana, knowledge of dissolution, it is only the dissolution, disappearance. So nature of disappearance. So this contemplating on the nature of arising and nature of disappearance, this is crucial for the development of insight. As we have explained many times, in order to develop insight, you need to contemplate nature of arising and disappearing continuously. Okay? Because it is in this never-ending process of arising and disappearing of the Nama Rupa that you find the nature of Anicca, Dukkha, Anatta. Okay? So it's crucial for the development of insight. So every time in the suttas when you read, Buddha talk about nature of arising, nature of disappearing, contemplating nature arising and disappearing. He's talking about development of insight. So here also, actually, Buddha is talking about development of insight. Okay? Yeah. So both this explanation, according to the commentary and according to Mahasi Sayadaw, it can be applied here. Because in the practice also, the yogi experience both the causes or arising, causes of disappearing, and yogi also realize the nature of arising and disappearing as it develop insight. Okay? But what is important is not to go looking for all the causes or go looking for the arising and disappearing. Okay, so as and when you notice this nature, then you simply recognize them by noting them. Okay? So as you develop your practice, your mind gets become clearer and clearer. Naturally, you will be able to notice them in your experience. You don't have to go looking for them. Okay? They are there within your experience. Your mind is clear enough, you'll be able to recognize, to pick them up with knowledge. So there is development of insight, noting the arising and disappearing of the in-out breath. Then after that, the Buddha says, Ati kayoti wa panasa sati pachupatita hoti. So this means his mindfulness is established thus, that is the body. So when he note with mindfulness, with that noting mind, he realized that is the body. Body here again means the breath body. So when he note the in breath, there's only the in breath. So that is the body. So in the commentary, they paraphrase this whole sentence. His mindfulness is established as that is the body. So the commentary paraphrase it. He says, Kayo wa ati na sato na pugalo na iti na puriso na atta na ataniya na aham na mama na kochi na kasachi ti eva masasati pachupatita hoti. So this means his mindfulness is established in this way. That is only the body. Kayo wa ati. So when he's mindful of the breath, so he realized there is only this body. That means this breath body. So na sato na pugalo and so on. There is no being. There is no person. Na pugalo. Na iti. There is no women. Na puriso. There is no man. Na atta. There is no self. Na ataniya. There is no something that belongs to the self. Na aham. There is no I. Na mama, no mind. Na kochi, there's nobody. Na kasachi, no anything belongs to somebody. Nothing at all. There's only the body. Body means what? Sabhava. There's only this nature. Wind element, the nature of pressure, the nature of roughness, the of element, nature of smoothness, the nature of softness, nature of warmth, nature of coolness. That's just this element. There's no person, no being, no woman, no man, no self, nothing belonging to the self, no I, no mind, nobody, and nothing belonging to anybody. Just nature of the body. Okay? So his mindfulness is established in this way. Okay? So this is development of insight. Seeing clearly nature of the breath body. Okay? So yawa deva nyana mataya patisati mataya. Okay? This means that mindfulness is established to the extent necessary only for knowledge and mindfulness. Okay, so commentary explain. This means that mindfulness is established to the extent necessary for further and further, higher and higher measure of knowledge and mindfulness. Okay, so this indicates the purpose of developing this kind of mindfulness. Okay, so that means you continuously develop it, sustain it, in order that your mind can reach higher and higher distinction in knowledge and mindfulness. Okay? So that your practice do not remain stagnant, but is always progressing forward from one stage of insight to a higher stage of insight, and so on, until you arrive at Magga Jnana. Okay, so that is that's why you establish this mindfulness for. Okay, so to reach higher and higher stages of knowledge, and of course mindfulness. Okay, so Yawadeva Jnana Mataya Patisati Mataya. So the mindfulness is established to the extent necessary only for knowledge and mindfulness. Okay? And finally, the Buddha says, Anisito cha viharati, nacha kinchi loke upadiyati. Okay? So he dwells independent. Okay? Anisito means dependent. So anisito means independent. So he dwells independent. What this means is independent of craving and wrong view. So his mind does not depend on craving and wrong view. Okay? So if you do not develop insight, you do not see clearly the nature of nama rupa, the nature of impermanent suffering and non-self, craving arises. Right? Wrong view arises. Okay? So when you experience the object, the mind depends on craving. It yearns for the object. It depends on wrong view. He sees this as I or as mine, as a self or something belonging to the self. Okay? So now the yogi develops insight. He dwells independent from craving, independent from wrong views. Okay? Anisito cha viharati. Nacha kinchi loke upadiyati. He does not cling to anything in the world. Okay? So the world here again means the world of the five aggregates. Okay? So he does not cling to anything in the world of five aggregates. So when you develop clear insight into nature, nama, rupa, then you do not cling to anything of the five aggregates. Okay? The mind is free. Okay? So it does not cling by means of craving. It does not cling by means of wrong view. Okay? Because of the insight that is present, the mind does not depend on craving, does not depend on wrong view. So the mind does not cling through craving, does not cling through wrong view. If the craving is present or wrong view is present, the mind will cling to the five aggregates that is present. But now, because of the presence of the insight, the mind does not cling, it lets go. So it's free. Yeah. So, evam piko bhikkhave bhikkhu kaya kaya nupasi viharati. So, in this way, bhikkhus, the bhikkhu or the yogi dwells contemplating the body in the body. So this is one way. The yogi can do kaya nupassana, dwell contemplating body in the body, okay, by means of anapanasati. Okay? So this marks the end of this section on anapanasati. Okay? So we stop here today. Imaya Dhamma nu Dhamma Patipatiya Buddham pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Dhammam pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Sangham pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Mata Pitunam pujemi. Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiya Acariyanam pujemi. Adha imaya Patipadaya Jaram Ranamha Primochesami Idame Punyam Asavakaya Vaham Hotu. Idame Punyam Nibbanasa Pajayo Hotu. Idame Silam Gaphalanyanasa Pajayo Hotu. Imam no Punyabha Sabasatana Dema. Imam no Punyabha Sabasatana Dema. Imam no Punyabha Sabasatana Dema. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So may all of you be well, happy, and peaceful always. May you all be safe, be healthy, be strong. May you all be able to practice the Dhamma continuously without any obstacle, without any hindrances. May your practice always be smooth, and soon may all of you be able to experience the unconditioned peace of Nibbana through your practice of Dhamma.